Hello and welcome to Warframe. My name's Todd, also known as Magi Mech, and this is of course Warframe. Last time we left off completing the Saturn junction. God, I can barely remember what I was going to say right before I said it. And now we have access to Saturn. We'll be moving across Saturn towards Uranus after we finish the Limbo Theorem part that we need to complete. So we did finish crafting the Limbo part, or I gathered the materials to craft it last time, started it last time, and it's all ready to go. So we'll kick that off, and then we'll talk about a couple other things.
Excellent. The final theorem, and it's unfragmented. Processing! Oh, wait, Limbo, no. That's a mistake. You don't want to go there. It's too big a jump. You can't rift walk. Oh no. Operator, I think I know why we're finding Limbo parts scattered throughout the system. His final rift walk was a disaster! Well, perhaps when you occupy this frame, you will use more caution.
And that's the end of the Limbo Theorem quest. So, you now have all the parts to craft Limbo, of course. Let me go see. The blueprint, I think, either Ordis will mail to us or we can purchase here in the marketplace. Let's take a look. I know he's here, so there he is. Yes, so you can purchase it from the marketplace for 35,000 credits. Effectively, we have all the parts now. You just need a couple Oracle cells and some more credits on top of what we did to craft Limbo. I'm not going to craft Limbo right at this moment. I don't see any major reason to do so. I'll be showing him off later on when we kind of move over to my other account and we have more resources. Some of the things that he does are very useful for defensive type missions like excavations, defense, and other things of that nature. He's very good at protecting objectives. He's also very good at crowd control. So you can kind of see what he does there. And effectively that's Limbo. There's been a lot of different changes to Limbo over the history of Warframe since his release. He's kind of notorious, I suppose you could say. The major thing to note about Limbo, of course, is his rift mechanic. He can enter the rift, he can cause other players to enter the rift, he can cause enemies to enter the rift, and he can just kind of play around with that mechanic.
All accounted for.
Effectively, if you're ever annoyed by Limbo in the current time, it's not super hard to deal with. Just note that if you get rifted, or if you get sent into the rift plane, you can dodge roll, and that will get you out of the rift plane. If you notice an enemy is like untargetable or unattackable, it's probably because of our good boy Limbo here. You'll notice like it's kind of like a smoky effect, I suppose you could say, near his feet, the enemy's feet, which will kind of dictate that they've been jumped into the rift. Overall, he's not really a great frame to start out with. He's very, very in-depth and requires a lot of different mods to deal with. And to kind of get right, so we're not really going to craft him right away. It's better to kind of focus on Volt or Rhino at this current time, because both of those are kind of more useful frames in more different types of modes. But yeah, that kind of finishes out the Limbo Theorem. So I did want to talk about upgrades to mods. I don't think I upgraded our Rhino's mods at all. But I did upgrade our Heck, because I did manage to get a point-blank mod. So I upgraded that, threw that on, so hopefully now our Heck's actually going to do a decent amount of damage. I think I might have swapped the Lado's mods around, but I don't think I really changed too much there. I did change up the Galantina, if I remember correctly, so you can see that there. Taxon, we managed to get, while we were in the Void, we managed to get a coolant leak. It's kind of a rare mod. It'll be useful for just our kind of running in headfirst as Rhino. As other frames, it may not be so useful. And I also just changed up our Artax because we did have an extra infected clip and Stormbringer, so I threw those on there, so maybe he'll sometimes get a corrosive proc. Overall, modding your Artax is kind of pointless. It's a great thing to have early on, but as time goes on, the Artax just shows that it's very kind of useless overall due to the fact that it has low crit and low status. It's just not great, in my opinion. Well, that concludes most of what we needed to do from last time. We don't have any other quests as of yet, but we will be getting some soon once we start heading onto Uranus. So let's start making our way across Saturn. I think we should be able to complete maybe up to Tethys at this point, but we're going to try and go through it. So this is something you might see as you're going through Warframe, of course. You might see that there are invasions on certain nodes. You can do the invasion, I believe, to clear the nodes from the blue status that they are to the white status so you can progress. Or you can select just the normal mission, which we're going to do because capture tends to be a little bit easier than, I think it was interception. It's either capture or spy. So you can, of course, do the invasions, get the rewards from those. I believe I've explained those in the past, so I'm not going to go over that again. Nothing massively, new there. And this capture, of course, is nothing we haven't seen before. I think this tile set we've seen before overall, so not really going to make any major comments about that.
There is a sanctuary target here, Hunter.
I guess I could talk a little bit about some of the things that are happening in Warframe at this moment. It is the new year. We've kind of started to move forward. There was some new updates, or a hotfix update for the
capture them quickly before they escape.
Kind of current patch we're in with the Orbalis, kind of Orbalis Part 2, really.
Indicate our target is in the vicinity. Find them.
The hotfix didn't really introduce all that much, but it did introduce some Warframe augments, which are just special mods that only work on certain Warframes to change their abilities. That's pretty much all that really kind of happened as of late.
Excellent work. We'll interrogate the captive back at base.
You can see that just with that point-blank mod alone, we're doing a lot more damage than we were previously. And we're able to kind of deal with these enemies a little bit quicker. Just overall making things easier. If I had the kind of time and efforts to put into this and actually level up all the mods and things that we have currently, we'd probably be a lot tankier and a lot more beefy, I'd say, than we are currently. It's just, I don't really have infinite amounts of time, of course, so we're kind of just going through as quickly as we're able to. The quicker we're able to get through all this, we can then get to kind of the end game and show off some of the things that I've accumulated on my other accounts, which will have a lot more mods and different things kind of at max. Oh, we did get a stretch mod, which is good. Stretch increases ability range. Great for Volt. His final or ultimate ability, his fourth ability, is massively improved by improving the range. So throwing a stretch mod on him Volt is not necessarily a bad idea for that specific reason. Let's see. Oh, of course, Barokatir did arrive. Not going to worry about him at the moment. For reasons I've previously stated, just mostly that we don't really have that much void stuff because I haven't really farmed any out. We will be opening some relics for the Uranus Junction, but I kind of want to just stop talking and move forward because the quicker we get these missions done, the quicker we'll get there. And we also get some good resources in on the planet Saturn, thanks to the fact that it has nanospores. It's our first encounter with the resource nanospores, which means we'll probably be able to build the Vectis soon. And our Heck is almost at its maximum rank, so that's quite good.
There is a prisoner here that is vital to our operations. Search for the holding location.
Once we've managed to get our hands on a Vectis, we'll be sitting pretty, really. The amount of damage the Vectis does, I don't think there's much in a star chart that can really kind of deal with that, so we'll be just fine after
You've
that.
been seen.
Though we will have to get used to scoped in vision, of course. You'll have to forgive me if you have motion sickness or anything of that nature. Warframe definitely has a lot
There's
of
no
movement.
telling what the captors are doing to our
And
rescue target. You need to
a
find the holding cell
scope
immediately.
just makes everything worse. Pretty much magnifies your vision, making any smaller movement even larger. Just it really sucks sometimes, but other times it's just fine, especially on places like the plains, Eidolon and Orbalis. Those are great places to have a sniper rifle, of course, just because of the distance travel. Alright.
You are approaching the holding area. Careful.
Basic
If the wardens
missions
detect you,
here.
they will surely initiate the execution sequence.
Try to avoid getting detected, but I think we might fail. Yeah. So we failed getting avoiding detection. We'll try and rush through here.
Hurry up. You are running out of time.
Should be noted, of course, in rescues that we do have a
We've
time
reached
limit.
The prison. Find
Thankfully,
our
it's not
prisoner
that
in
bad.
one of these cells.
I don't know if we've seen a grittier hacking game that's got the mechanic that it switches sides.
Thank you, Tenno.
So it'll switch directions
Prisoner located. We need to get them back to
depending
command
on
in one piece.
when
Find
you
your way
hit
to the exits.
one of the
Don't
little
leave the
nodes.
subject
So if you
behind.
hit a node and you get it activated or deactivated, it will switch directions, which
I can fight too.
when you
Give me
have
weapon.
a final Grineer like lock with all the nodes filled in, it's quite annoying. The hacking at that point is pretty much just kind of as far as you'll go. If you do manage to, you know, master that, then you can pretty much handle anything, and you will sadly have to master it if you wish to kind of progress through all the content Warframe has to offer. Some of the end game content will not allow you to use ciphers, specifically the content known as sorties. They prevent the usage of ciphers, so get used to hacking. Otherwise, you're going to be kind of up a creek once you get to that point, and you're trying to do it with extremely high-level enemies shooting at you. Thankfully, our good boy Rhino saves us a lot of hassle there. Sabotage. I think we got a good string of missions here. So far we haven't had any problematic ones. I've picked a right just kind of randomly, and I was hoping it didn't have anything like hijack or, you know, interception or any defensive style missions that we'd have to go through. Because the quicker we're able to get through these missions, of course, the quicker we're able
The
to
Grineer have been harvesting a
get to the
nearby
junction.
planetoid for weapons-grade material. Locate and destroy their mining equipment.
There is a sanctuary target here, Hunter. I sense it. Track it with the synthesis scanner. Don't let
I'm
it
sure
escape.
you've seen, of course, that Samaris has been bugging the heck out of us
You're
throughout
on
all
the
of this.
sensors now. You've been detected.
We could, of course, try and track down the synthesis targets. I don't see any major reason to do that. Ooh, Celery. Not really a whole lot
Could have
of
unimaginable
reward at this point in
repercussions.
time.
Be on your guard.
There's more reward later in the game when you have certain things you can get from him. One of the big things that you would like in the later parts of the game is access to the simulacrum, or simulacrum, however you want to pronounce it. It's a great place for testing out weapons, finding out what's the most efficient.
Excellent work. You have managed to thwart potentially dangerous
Very
discoveries
similar
from
to,
being fully realized.
I suppose you could say, target dummies of other games. A common game mechanic, of course, is to have a target dummy which you're able to test weapons against to see their DPS, damage, and other factors the weapon might have, such as effects and things of that nature. Now see, this is one thing I hate about this kind of tile set is this is a window. All the other ones didn't have windows in them. I don't understand why they had to have the distinction there, why they could just have the open ones. Instead you gotta slap against it, like a bug on a windshield, to figure out
Another
whether or not
job
you can go
well
through it.
executed.
Minor gripe, but that's kind of what I do minor gripes. Okay, so 2 more missions, or at the very least 1 more mission, and we'll be at the junction. Okay, so I just checked my timer and we will have enough time. Okay, so this one's defense. That's not the best, but I think we'll be able to do it just fine. Defense is probably one of the least problematic of the kind of endless game types. And then we'll just have to deal with Sargus Ruck on Tethys. So yeah, I guess we'll just jump into that. I think we'll do... Let's see. We're going to jump out of this at 5 waves. That way we can progress quicker, and I think we will do Sargus Rock. I think we've got enough time. I hate to kind of jump out on some people here that are doing this mission, but I don't really want to stick around forever. So on these Grenier maps here, there tends to be the starting room with a lot of containers in it. Very high chance of getting an Iatan star, at least in my experience. So it's great to open all those up. Alright. So with the extra people here, we should be just fine for this little defense. I think that was one of the people that joined us, or that we joined specifically, was the Avara. It's a very interesting Warframe. I don't think we can get her just yet, due to not having unlocked all the planets. Her parts come from the different tiers of spy missions. She's very good at spy, but she's also good at some other things, thanks to the perk of being able to become invisible. And these tornadoes here, these are Zephyr's abilities, so that other person must be Zephyr. Zephyr is a fantastic Warframe for movement. She's also quite good at defending objectives, but movement's kind of her forte. She's got her first ability, of course, allows her to just fly around the map like crazy. We also appear to have an Excalibur. Don't think I need to tell anybody, even new players, about what Excalibur can do. Although, from the looks of it, that might be an Excalibur Umbra. Now he has some interesting abilities which we'll be seeing later. But until then, let's just progress through here and get done with this. I think these players and their respective Warframes may be focused on trying to farm nanospores, or maybe plastids. Though I'm not sure why they would come to this specific map. Not really the best for either of those. Though defense tends to be one of the better kind of places to farm for both resources and kind of affinity, so I guess if you're not confident in your skills to do high level stuff, coming to a planet like this wouldn't be too bad. Okay. Let's see. Oh, here's one of Avara's abilities. Good old dash wire. Dash wires are something she can set up. You can get onto them by pressing E, same way you would with other dash, like zipline wires. Not massively useful to us, but some of Avara's abilities kind of combo into those dash wires very usefully, and using them in spy missions is quite good because you can pretty much avoid the floor. So that's kind of nice. Our defense objective is kind of taking a beating here. A lot of the other players in our group here tend to not be around the objective here. I said here a lot in that sentence. That was quite bad. Okay, so we're on wave 3. 2 more waves and we'll be done with this. Let's see. Do we need... how many nanospores we're getting? We're actually getting a good amount of nanospores. I, for some reason, have the most kills and the least amount of damage. I have no idea why. Probably because I've been stomping. thanks to gaining a lot of energy from all the energy orbs that drop when you have so many players, it's very easy to use your abilities more often. So that's what I've been doing. Stomp like crazy. Have a great time. That was my timer. So we should definitely have enough time to finish up Sargus Ruck. He doesn't take very long. He's kind of an interesting boss though. But he doesn't cause too many problems, I don't think. Now, watch, I'm going to get there and just get completely wrecked. I don't remember what Warframe he drops, but I don't think it's super important. We won't be focusing on building any more Warframes for quite some time. If we really even focus on that at all. Mostly with just Volt and Rhino, we should be fine for pretty much everything. There's only a couple situations I can think of where a Volt or Rhino would not serve you just as well as any other Warframe. Specifically for defense like this, it would probably be better if we swapped over to our Volt and used a range mod with his 4th ability, as that kind of combos into being able to do a lot. Okay, let's pick up our buddy here. Got knocked over. We'll roar and I stomp. We don't have enough energy for that. No, the roar ought to help out our allies here. Pretty sure I've talked about what roar does and kind of how it works. I will note one funny thing I just recently found out about roar. It has a different readout than any of the other damage increasing abilities. It reads specifically just the amount it increases your damage, so it's not necessarily weaker than other abilities, though it might look like it sometimes if you can compare it to other abilities. For instance, if Roar states that it increases for 100%,
available. Do you
we'll
choose
step out.
to leave now or continue fighting?
If Roar states that
That's
it
the last
increases
of them.
your
Objective is secure. Let's
damage
go home.
by 100%, then it effectively is increasing your damage up to 200%. Whereas most other Warframe abilities and whatnot will kind of do the opposite. It will include your initial damage in the calculation. So I don't know if I'm explaining that very well, but effectively, Roar might look like it doesn't do a whole lot compared to other abilities, but it does. So don't doubt the capabilities of Roar. However, it's definitely not as strong as some other Warframe's abilities.
Lotus, Grenier are your masters. Submit for mercy.
There are some damaging abilities that do just completely outpace Roar. That was, of course, Sargus Ruck, who we're going to go wreck at this moment. However, Roar is definitely not to be underestimated. Especially just because it's on Rhino, and Rhino is just all around good.
The assassination target is nearby.
Voice
Seek
was a
and
little bit hoarse
destroy.
there.
The hunt is on, Tenno. The synthesis scanner is detecting a potential target. Use it.
We got hit
Search
by a
for traces
magnetic
of the
proc
target.
right there. That wasn't great.
General Sargus Ruck has become a problem for our artifact recovery efforts. Several of our dig sites in this sector have been attacked and annexed by
Regret
will be your legacy. With an almost inhuman hatred for all that is not Grenier.
Well,
Forget the Lotus. Grenier are your masters.
oh, that's pretty much what he said previously.
Mercy.
Shouldn't have to explain too much about
You're on the
Sargus
sensors
Ruck.
now. You've been detected.
The Lotus was kind of explaining it there
Stay sharp.
a little bit.
This one is a handful.
Sargus Ruck effectively cannot be damaged unless you hit his weak points, which are kind of indicated by extreme glows on his body, specifically white glows.
Grenier, protect all.
You can see a weak point right there.
Grenier are on the way.
You really have to wait until those weak points come out. He does do a decent amount of damage if you let him. So that's not great, so we'll be focusing on trying to avoid that. Plus he does just have a ridiculous amount of dudes around him. So let's go try and clear out some of these enemies here. Oh, like that. So we can pop that. Okay. So let's clear out some of the guys around here. Usually it's not so crowded. So we're going to try and make it not so crowded. And this Nox is not being my friend. Okay. So that Nox is just eating away at your armor. Or my armor specifically. So I'm trying to deal with him. Oh, but he's just destroying us. There's the synthesis target is in this room right now. I just realized. He's right there. Still not going to worry about him because we got bigger fish to fry at this moment. Thankfully, Sargus Rock doesn't have any massively ranged abilities, so we can kind of just run away from him if we start taking too much damage, like we did right there. But that was mostly because of the Nox. Okay, so we're going to avoid him. Now we've got Taxon back, so we can do a little bit extra slowing to our enemies here. We do want to kind of just deal with all the enemies. That enemy was just stuck in the floor. There will be more enemies that come into the room as time progresses, but that's okay. Focusing on the big ones, such as the enemies that have large health bars, is your main focus there, and that will deal with him. So his weak point is open right here. If we can break it, eventually. So because we're not doing a lot of damage here, this fight is actually taking a little bit of time. It would be great if we did a bit more damage. Okay, so we've broken that weak point. Now the fight kind of progresses. If we weren't Rhino, you would get hit by that flame wave. Note to roll. Rolling does negate flame waves like that. So now his weak point has changed to his chest. Hammer away at that. Shouldn't be too hard to deal with him though. He will keep doing those flame waves. You can pretty much notice him by when he stops kind of like flamethrowing.
You've been locked out. Let's override the security.
Okay, so we've gone into lockdown, which usually wouldn't be a great thing, but is actually kind of good now, because that will prevent new enemies from spawning into this room, or coming into this room through doors. So if we can clear out the enemies that are here, we're good to go. So Rhino, of course, is a great Warframe for Sargus Rook, because of being able to ignore all the flame procs and everything else.
Are you just mercenaries fighting for scraps? Where is this Sonko Tenu honor?
So this final attack that he does here kind of is like a flame geyser. It is probably his most damaging. Avoid it if able to, just because it will typically knock down most Warframes very quickly. The Flame Wave, on the other hand, is not very damaging, but it will knock you down, putting you in perfect range before getting hit by other attacks. So his final weak point, after his chest weak point, is the weak point on his back, I believe. I think this is his final weak point, if I'm not mistaken. He did have enough energy to get the last bit of attacks there. Okay, let's deal with him. Come on, just die. You're drawing this out, Sargus. You can just keel over now. Get him. Yeah, got him. That's the end of Sargus Rock. So, now we've killed him, we do what we always do, and we head out
Nice work
here.
taking down the VIP. Now
Oh,
get to
but we are still in lockdown. So usually enemies won't spawn into this room after you've kind of gone into lockdown, but I've been noticing that there were a lot of enemies already in the room, so that's kind of a problem. I know that there's a computer somewhere. Now where is it? Is it in one of these rooms? Yes. There we go.
Override successful.
And we're out of here.
Let's get going.
Not too hard. With Rhino, pretty much everything becomes slightly easier, especially
They won't be
bosses.
bothering us anymore.
So
Let's
we're good to
get out
go.
of here.
Oh, he drops Ember's parts. So Ember's a great damaging frame. Overall, getting her at this point in the game was just fine. She has a fantastic AoE ability, but in recent times it's been greatly reduced in its capability, so I don't know. She's not really
Operator, messages have arrived in your
what I'd
inbox.
consider one of the best frames in the game currently, so that says a lot about her. She was at one time fantastic compared to how she is now. Alright, so completed that. Let's see, can we by chance craft the Vectus? No. So we need more neuroids and we need more nanospores. Okay, we also need to get Master Rank 5, which we are actually kind of close to get the Dread. So we will be getting the Dread and the Vectus as time goes on. Not going to bother with the Penta really at the moment. I'd much prefer to focus on weapons that are actually quite good. Let's see. Do I have enough time to farm up for the Vectus? I think I do. I'll do that in between parts though. So I'm going to farm up for the Vectus. I'm going to start the build for the Vectus. We'll claim it next time. And once we finish leveling up our Heck, we'll be good to go to use our Vectus. Alright, but until next time, goodbye.